Tales from Beyond the Veil, the background information. Well, for a start, let me introduce you to myself. My name is Clare SM Keating. I'm a non-binary writer that works in various genres and self-publishes my work. One of my writing universes is known as Beyond the Veil, which includes a majority paranormal romance stories, with some having more horror elements and others even moving to the more erotic and simple romance. Now, this universe includes stories featuring demons, angels, vampires, werewolves, witches, shapeshifters, and fae, to name a few. Your classic paranormal tropes, but all within the sphere that they are living hidden amongst normal people and in their own section called the Veil. These stories have a set idea of what species is benevolent and what is malevolent with reference to good and evil. My stories are generally split between certain story series that include Beyond the Veil stories, which are one-shots exploring random characters and situations within the Veil. This currently has Changeling Heart as its only published piece, but many are in the works, including a piece called Weirdest Romance. Currently on my Patreon, we've got 2 other works in this area, with Fragrance of Paradise and Easy Prey. Then we have the erotic tales from Beyond the Veil. These are heavily erotic pieces about creatures from the Veil universe and their interactions with each other or sometimes humans. There are a couple of titles in the works here, with my first being My Dearest Loaf, hopefully to be published soon. Then we have the Viper Clan, my largest collection of stories from the Veil, following a bloodline of vampires, and currently has Foundations of Blood, the first volume, published, as well as The Viper in the Shadows, which is the second one. Then we have the Iron Wolves, a series about a special bloodline of werewolves who are very important in the Veil, and an older series in progress that I've got a lot of editing to do on. Then we also have Blood Shadows, a series devoted to the children of the first reformer demon known as Malaria, and my first foray into the Veil, but under rewrites, of course. Then we also have Hell's Enforcers, a series about the demons of Hell sent to collect deal breakers and their love lives. There's also another lot, which is called Spawns of the Fallen, a new series in construction regarding various children of fallen angels in romantic and often erotic tales, but covering more of the Veiled demonology. But because the world is so extensive already, and it tackles my interpretations of demons, angels, mythological beings, and just fitting them into a paranormal romance universe, and into a modern universe, it's something I've been doing for a while, so I wanted to take the time to introduce it to you all. We'll start with what reference material do I use. So, with a lot of the work here, I've been going back and forth for years trying to find as many sources as possible, and unfortunately, because at the time I was relying on libraries more than anywhere else, trying to remember some of my sources is a little bit chaotic. Like most people these days, there's much more on the internet to give me more variety of information, but I found it's only been in the last 7 years I've been able to find some of these sources, particularly other people discussing multiple references, like on some YouTube channels. I would recommend anyway to look into Mythology and Fiction Explained, as well as Storied's Monstrum episodes. I also recently discovered The Legends of History, which has been discussing the Demons of Solomon and looking into a lot more demonology in a way I trust, which is discussing from sources. But for a majority of my work, there are 2 kinds of sources: paranormal fiction and non-fiction, discussing angels, demons, mythology, folklore, and cryptids. For the paranormal fiction, it's comparing the markets and seeing what actually sounds good, and I'll just briefly tell you about some of the series I've enjoyed, which have probably inspired me. That would be the Lords of the Underworld series by Gina Showalter, the Arjanu books by Lindsay Sands, the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward, the Sons of Destiny series by Jean Johnson, but most things by Angela Nye, Carved in Stone by Vicky Taylor, and Kresley Cole's Immortals After Dark. Basically, demons, vampires, magicians, werewolves, and many others, gargoyles, and the variety in Kresley Cole's works, including demons, werewolves, vampires, ghosts, and Valkyrie. For my non-fiction sources, I've been going through various ones over the years, but these are the main go-to sources that I tend to use for a lot of the work I reference. That's The Book of Werewolves by Sabine Baring Gould, the vampire book The Encyclopedia of the Undead by J. Gordon Melton, that's the 2nd edition, A Dictionary of Demons, Names of the Damned by Michelle Bellinger, A Dictionary of Angels, including Fallen Angels by Gustav Davidson, The Malleus Maleficarum, or The Hammer of the Witches by Heinrich Godfrey Kramer, one of the many translated versions of it, sadly from the library, so I can't remember which version it was, The Mythical Creature Bible by Brenda Rosen, and The Field Guide to Demons, Vampires, Fallen Angels, and Other Subversive Spirits by Carol K. Mack and Dynamac. One of my other main sources of inspiration for the interpretation of things like the fallen angels within my universe is John Milton's Paradise Lost, and some of my descriptions of hell have been influenced by Dante's Inferno. But Milton plays an important part of my interpretation of the fall and of Lucifer. I use Lucifer as the devil, not Satan. though I know anyone considering this much background for paranormal romance stories might seem confusing, but with the Viper clan being a huge saga covering lots of things and different interactions, and characters like Josiah and Rowan in My Dearest Loathe being former angel and demon, I like to give an exploration of their universe. There are other sources too that I've taken inspiration from, rather than reference, and these include Japanese anime and manga such as Vampire Hunter D, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and several others in various genres that have also been big helps into the various interpretations of demons, vampires, other monsters in popular culture, and sometimes even for romance. I have to admit that the concept of a dhampir I only first learnt about through Vampire Hunter D, and well, when I looked it up, I was startled to learn about it. I had a similar thing recently with a Korean manhwa discussing a cambion, which is a human succubus hybrid. I always just assumed it was a trope name. What is the veil? The first thing I should tell you about is the veil itself, and what it means to be ignorant, innocent, and the Veillander. It all begins a long time ago when Adam and Eve were ejected into the world to mix with the other more primitive humans living out there, but also at risk of demons. With Lilith's determination that the children of Adam should suffer and her brood taking on various forms, even mimicking more benign animals, as well as the predators to attack all those who could bear Adam's kin. From these encounters, oral tradition would tell of various demonic beings, giving them names later as these beings held the savage desire to devour man's flesh, blood, essence, and soul, pairing other demons and fallen, stealing brides from the kin or husbands, and multiplying. They were soon more numerous than the cull of Lilith's birth spawn each day could compare to, and so the Almighty fought to deal with these beings through the help of his angels. Though the guardian angels under Michael did their best to step out and battle these demons, the world developed, the humans grew, and Adam's blood, as well as thoughts, mingled to create a more modern human aware of faith and fear and death. With the humans soon aware of the beings fighting them and beckoned by the guardians to fight too, the exploits of Lilith's spawn came to the attention of the bored Lucifer at last, and they gathered the monsters to them. Lucifer gave instructions for them to be more cautious, to learn together, to fight the angels, and leave mankind to something else. With the guardian angels busy, 200 angels were gathered together and sent to Earth as watchers. But when Lucifer learnt of who the watchers were, the non-combatants of the angelic wars, he sent the Djinn to bother them, and following came the Peri, these being suddenly aware of potential parents lost and able to interact and aid the humans. Their presence and that of the Djinn meant it was easy to slip whispers to the watchers, to corrupt their teachings to man, and to corrupt their bodies with the desire of flesh. When hideous offspring, the Nephilim, were born and went on their destructive paths, the children of Lilith gathered about them under Lucifer's orders and multiplied with them, now gaining more blood to tie them to mankind. The Almighty had no choice but to purge the world, but when the three angels of death were informed of this, Samael, the sire of Lilith's brood, pleaded for the lives of his children that had not harmed mankind, but lived in the shadows of them, and the Almighty called upon him to share a new decree to Lucifer and prepare for the flooding of the world. Samael was shown a map of the world, as huge as it was, and was beckoned to shave the hair from his body, all but his navel, removing the majority of his powers, and forever meaning he must never speak to any angel save his brothers, and could no longer sire children with Lilith. It was a choice he was willing to make. Where the hairs landed, so the Almighty drew a great clinging net of mist, that would repel the waters but seal the beings away from mankind. This was to become the veil, a place where those beings not created to the Almighty's design could still reside, for their pairing to the Nephilim had made their children, who could take on human form, hold a soul, gaining them a chance to enter heaven if they lived a decent life. The Nephilim, however, and the other children of Lilith that did not depart into hell would drown. The Peri rescued some righteous humans too. The Jinn captured others to high places to keep them, and the Watchers were punished. Their leaders cast into hell, Azazel the first corrupted, strung up between hell and earth, and left to be tormented, whilst the remaining had their wings removed and were locked upon the earth forever. The veil was to remain unknown to humans, unknown to any of the humans beyond it, leaving them to grow up for a time and form their early empires and decipher their understandings of faith. Those humans outside the veil were titled the Innocent, and were to be left to themselves, ignorant of the veil's existence, but for something no one quite expected. Lucifer was able to summon demons to dig tunnels under the veil and into the real world, to distort space to make these tunnels so that humans could step into the veil and be destroyed, and the demons could escape and cause havoc. Sadly, Lucifer's idea backfired somewhat. Those born in the veil, Veillanders, including some born completely human, and with it the descendants had developed their own empires and societies with their own problems, and some beings even becoming benevolent. Lucifer could not interrupt them any more. The Veillanders had their own lives and societies to develop in the Veil alongside humanity, but always, innocent humans might walk into the Veil or meet a Veillander and be attacked. As time went by, Lucifer tried several times to attack the world beyond the Veil, but the Veil and the Mastema, the judging angels, chose to infiltrate beyond and aid the humans in secrecy. But always they did their best not to interfere with the human world. Thus some were known as the ignorant, humans that would not believe or ever see the Veil, nor help anyone in danger from demons, vampires, werewolves, succubus, and other such creatures. So, the Veil is a secret area of our world that we cannot see and contains all those creatures from myth and folklore, giving them somewhere to go and working hard to keep a balance between heaven and hell, so humans can live out their free will uninterrupted by demonic influence, or at least too much. The Veil has many spots around the world, with the largest parts of it being in Asia, Europe, Central America, Africa, and Antarctica. In fact, Antarctica is the largest area of the Veil that's mainly inhabited by reformer demons and others that don't really want to interact with humans at all. The most important part of the Veil, though, is a huge section within the Alps between Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. It can be accessed through only one main road through the mountains, from the northern border into Germany, via a tunnel under a mountain known as Daxberg, though once also titled Drakensberg. This area beyond is about the size of France, consisting of various large valleys, forests, rivers, and mountains that humans cannot see unless within the Veil itself, but it is known only as the Überwald, or beyond forest, though often it gets translated as about forest, but more on that later. Now, my inspiration for the Veil is not really very unique. To be honest, most paranormal romance tend to work on the world within a world. That humans are unaware of greater things, and so I played on that to make the Veil the focus of my stories, and the world outside the more dangerous or difficult to comprehend for them. As for its background, a lot of places have the tale of the Great Flood or disaster. There's ideas of the flood being used to remove the Nephilim and their bloodline, so I just used this as I'd already decided that the spawn of Lilith would create all the earthborn monsters, and if you mix that with human and angel blood from the Nephilim, it suddenly gives everything a soul. At least, that's my take on it all. And now, how these videos are supposed to work. So just briefly, to explain what will be uploaded and how it all works, I'll just keep this light and simple. All of my works are audio. I will use a background image, probably a cover I've drawn for a book, and there will not be a video or music. Can't afford such things, so think of it as akin to a podcast. Each month, I intend to upload 4 items. Each item I will have written a script for, and they will be one of the 4 following topics and done rather randomly. With each piece, you will be given first a quote from one of my works about it, and then background, i.e., if I'm telling you about an angel or a monster, I will tell you about it from my sources first, and then give you the interpretation into my universe. This means you get some actual information, not just knowledge of my use of it. So what are the 4 categories? The first category is demons and angels. Each month, you will get to know a little about a demon or angel used in my stories, its context in mythology, folklore, and religion, and then its use in my world. The second category is creatures. Each month I'll tell you the folklore, legend, mythology of a creature that appears within the Beyond the Veil universe, my sources for it, and then my interpretation. The third category is character. I will introduce you to a character that turns up in my stories, generally whoever is the first one mentioned in work I'm doing that month, so it may have a few spoilers, but it may not. I'll give you a quote from others, species, description, position in the universe, and in the stories, and a little of my own ideas about them. The fourth category is Veil-related. This is a mishmash category that will include locations, politics, councils, hierarchies, and basic background details, and may occasionally have me reading to you from some of my glossaries for certain beings. Not all of this stuff has any reference or inspiration, but where it does, I will let you know. Hopefully you will enjoy it, and thank you for listening.